Good afternoon. It's once again Friday at 6:30 in the p.m. And of course, this is your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21, an interactive television show where people get an opportunity to voice opinions, talk about issues, discuss things that are going on, and exchange dialogue. As a matter of fact, it is my belief that this can be called, with a great sense of reality, the information age, meaning that there's more information transmitted across the globe because of technology and the influence and impact of it, the utilization of it, and the communication skills that individuals have, more so than we've ever had since the world has existed, to the best of my knowledge and connection. We can talk about things. We can learn about things. We can know about things. So to have the opportunity to come home from Washington on the weekend and share with you, the constituents, the citizens, the listeners in community space, some of what is taking place, some of what is going on, is not only a great honor, but it's also a tremendous responsibility. And it's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. I want to thank Christian Strydom for being in the studio with me this afternoon.
Thank you, Congressman.
And we are going to talk a bit about some of the things that are happening. Of course, it's always difficult to talk anything without the injection of political activity. And I always say that the show that I have is not a partisan political advertisement. It's a discussion about what goes on. And what I mean by that is I'm not asking anybody to vote for any particular person. I'm not asking anybody to vote for any particular party. I'm not asking anybody to buy into any particular ideas and concepts. And so I'm not promoting a political ideology. I am talking facts, some opinions, some hopes. I see that the president is kind of interesting. The President of the United States and the Pope are kind of at odds right now in terms of some feeling on the part of some of the president's supporters that maybe the Pope has crossed his line and gotten into political conversation as opposed to theological conversation. And so he's disagreed in some way. The president, and sometimes people don't know if the president is joking, having fun, playing, or expressing, but for the most part, I think the president reminds me of a song that a guy wrote one time. And he say, "What's that that's going around? They tell me you're gonna put the kid down." Said, but I call that messing with the kid. He said the kid didn't laugh and the kid didn't play. He said what he meant, and he meant what he said. Now look at what you did. So I call it joking and fooling around, but you're messing with the kid. And so sometimes you don't know if the president, what he's doing, whether he's joking, whether he's meaning what he say. But I think it's pretty clear that he means a great deal of what he says. And when he say that he was not having a Department of Defense, that he was having a Department of War. And I think some people, kind of wondered what he meant. Well, defense means that you defend yourself.
Okay. Against what?
War means that you are at odds and you may be aggressive and in all likelihood will be because you want to win whatever you're trying to win. And just defending won't necessarily do that. And so the president has been talking war, and the Pope is talking humanity.
Yes.
And peace.
Yes.
Or pushing the idea that the world is big enough that we ought to be able to figure out how to get along.
Yeah.
And some people think that that's impossible and impractical.
Why?
I don't necessarily think so. I think that man, when I say man, I mean that humans have the capacity to be able to work things out and say,
oh yeah, of course,
this is your space.
Yeah.
This is my space.
Yeah.
And I can live with my space. You can live with your space.
Yes.
And then there are some things we can do together. And we can exchange goods and services so that what I've got that you don't have, you can make use of. And what you've got that I don't have,
we're all capable.
Make use of. And we then can experience a better world than we could if we stayed isolated and never got to that point. Well, Christian, let me ask you, if you was going to be siding with one or the other of the president and the Pope in their exchanges of what they seem to be promoting, which one would you opt for? The president or the Pope?
Those are two heavyweight choices. Congressman Danny K. Davis, thank you for having me on the show. I'm Christian Strydom here, live with Congressman Danny Davis, who just came in from another late night at work, flying in last night after being in session past the 12 a.m. End of day schedule. So thank you for your service, Congressman Davis, and I appreciate you bringing up this line of thought and direction so the community can feel like they can voice some of the thoughts going on through their head. So, to answer you, I emphatically, and I'm sure a lot of people, same people are with me on this one. This is non-bipartisan. But I emphatically am with the Pope on this one. I mean, he's representing the Catholic nations, and some of the comments made by Donald Trump, they're splintering MAGA. Candace Owens Tucker Carlson have gone up and with arms held up high, wondering if he is gone from being the anti-social president to the anti-law president to the anti-Christian president. So,
Well, the the Bible says, those who read the Bible, maybe they've read where it says there will be wars and rumors of wars.
that's right.
And if you read the Bible, you will find that there are a lot of places in there where countries and tribes and nations have been at odds with each other. And yes, but I think that we ought to be able to learn from some of the mistakes that they made. And so, yeah, there has always been conflict. Sometimes I will say that conflict is almost inevitable. That even if you believe that there were only a few people on earth at one time, and you believe that approach to the Bible.
Okay.
Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, few others. And there was conflict. Cain and Abel
True.
obviously got into it. One killed the other.
Famous tale.
So naturally, conflict will exist. But there are instances where if you take the approach of give and take, or if you use the wisdom
Are we listening?
of making a determination, then two things can coexist. Two sides can coexist. And if you try hard enough, then you reach some agreement. And so, what is it that the Middle East has that the rest of us may not have as much of? And then, obviously, there are some countries where finding fruits and vegetables
Right.
may be challenging.
Right.
So we exchange oil, maybe for fruits and vegetables. Well, I don't
parity.
want to go without fruits and vegetables, but I also need oil.
Yes.
And so these exchanges take place. And if we charge or receive a fair market price.
This is your economics course for the week, students. Listen up to the professor. It's in session. Macroeconomics 101.
But if it's fair, then you've gotten what you need.
True.
I've gotten what I need, and we can go along.
Principles of global trade, trade parity. You're absolutely right, Congressman.
So we're constantly trying to live better. And so if we take just America and we want to live better, what would living better in your mind be for individuals in America?
Congressman, thank you for that question. I think that's increasing the quality of life for everybody, affordability. And we unfortunately live in a fishbowl, and fortunately, because what affects one part of our community inevitably affects the other part. And if we make sure that everyone's got that standard of living, their quality of life, so that they've got a little bit something more close to equality in the middle, I think that would increase my standard of living, definitely my safety, and definitely how I view my community and others that are able to get jobs and wages. So I think if we directed less money to foreign wars and more money towards communities that need health care, affordable health care and housing, and we can start magically taking care of problems like crime and mental health issues that are starting to run rampant without, quite frankly, those agencies, and even better education. Like, let's stop closing schools, and let's stop closing options for people to work instead of finding some way back into recidivism, which has been your staples, I think, from healthcare to returning citizens. Those are just some of the milestones that you have covered and echoed throughout your career. But it's reticent right now. It hits home right now what we're experiencing, and these wars, although a good distraction, they're a terrible way for us to spend our money and our focus here in America.
I've heard that there's one airplane that it may cost $1 billion to, that you could invest, you could put that much money into one piece of equipment.
Wow.
And then, of course, a missile could bring it down.
Oh my gosh.
And so if you add up
Billion.
all of the other things that you could do, I watch some of the ads on television where people are advertising and also asking for aid to foreign countries and to especially children in some of the underdeveloped and undeveloped nations. And those ads convey to me that there's a lot of help that could be provided, especially to children, but I guess in undeveloped countries, to everybody, to the country as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And if our desire is to improve quality of life, quality of being,
Right.
and in some instances that would also, I think, mean increasing the lifespan, that is longevity of life. All of these things matter. And if we can put our effort and put more of the effort towards this business of to each, based upon what they need,
Yes.
and from each what they are able and prepared to contribute,
Yes.
then there would be more of a thriving economy,
Yes.
as well as a more productive environment,
Yes.
and people go along, not that it's wonderland or whatever, but it is a place where at least you live until the aging process takes you out, meaning that you live until you die,
Yes.
or until you get sick, or until you don't exist anymore.
Natural causes.
Is that too utopian to think about, or is that just something that's way off, way out? Don't think about it. Don't attempt to reach it. Don't believe it never happened. Or is it a possibility?
Congressman, you just defined what the majority of Americans are thinking, and credibly hope is the point of our society. You know, Keynesian economics dictates exactly like you said, having that free market without the artificial interruptions from the government or from certain actors that interrupt the flow of free capital. So I think, you know, following through logically, as long as we've got a free market that has supply and demand and equal actors and players, I think we have an opportunity for, you know, not a utopia, but a functioning civilization that has more balance instead of too much headweight where only 1% is enjoying, 50% of the economy. So I think that, you know, the greater United States is with you on that. I don't think that's a utopia. I think it's an honest expectation to pursue the American dream and not feel like the field is padded or the game is rigged against you. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. They feel, quite frankly, betrayed, and that they're not able to live the American dream. So I think utopia, dream, they're synonymous with people's hopes, quite frankly, and expectations of our government.
Well, let me ask you, I see that we have your son in the studio
Yes.
with us, so why don't you introduce him to
Kingsley,
our
come here.
viewers? And
Here, come on in here. Come on in here. All right. Whoa. All right. All right, Kingston, you want to introduce yourself with the congressman and myself?
I'm Kingston, and
it's all right, so he's done that.
Comfortable.
So you've become a television personality. Well, let me tell you, I did that for a purpose because this week, the committee that I serve on entertained and were entertained by and had a tremendous conversation with the First Lady of the country, President Trump's wife, who has expressed interest in helping foster children. And so we had what is called a round table, that is the Committee on Ways and Means. And of course I've been getting these calls from people all day and some of yesterday because they saw me sitting next to the First Lady of the country. And, whether you agree ideologically with everything that the president and his party, and of course I disagree with much, but it was a very pleasant exchange with the First Lady of the United States of America.
Wow.
And we did, in fact, have that dialogue yesterday. And, I felt a certain way. And I often say to the people of the 7th District that opportunities have been created for me to interact with some of the most potent, powerful, influential people in the world. And I never would have had that opportunity had not they supported my efforts. And so when I say to constituents that you've been the wind beneath my wing, I actually mean that, meaning that I would not have been in these places with those circumstances and opportunities without your having supported my efforts. So I never miss the opportunity to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent you. Our time is up, and it's about time for us to vamoose, and that is to move on to another setting. But let me thank both of you gentlemen for being with us this afternoon.